Welcome everyone once again to Comics and Beyond. This is episode number three, and I hope this will be a little bit of a shorter program show than the past ones. So there are some very interesting things I'm going to share with you today. First off, though, I do want to comment a bit on the whole YouTube Google Plus situation that we are going through. Most people have already expressed their opinions on it. Hippie being the first one, Hippie Collectibles. Um, but and I don't know what else to add to the whole conversation there. But uh, I mean, this is definitely not a situation where it makes it easier for people to comment, though it is much more limited. The group of people that can comment, you have to be within their own circles in Google Plus. So only people now can comment on videos. I guess that's a good way for to bring down trolling in the on videos, and I mean that's a good thing, I guess. But Google Plus is not the easiest, most well designed or thought out social page. I mean, there's a reason why Facebook is number one. I mean, it's very easy to use. It's very user friendly, I guess. You could say. Than Google Plus, and I've got a few comments on some of my videos, but I can't see those comments on Google Plus, so I don't know if replying to a comment still works the same way as it did before. Instead of going to my inbox, I have to go to my video and do the reply directly there. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I have a comment from Sleeper Reader 666, and I haven't answered him just because I can see his comment on Google Plus, and I'm not really sure if replying the same way as before actually still works. So I am very, very, very confused with that. Um, so I will answer him right here, right now. Uh, his comments because I found them very, very interesting and worthy of a reply, because sometimes some comments really can't don't have much to say to that, or I have to give it a little bit more thought uh, for an answer. So, but or I have to go to multiple points. So sometimes my replies might be a little bit long. So I just kind of give it some time um, to think things through before answering. And I'm very inconsistent with replies. Usually an interesting comment I would usually reply to. So I was mentioning in my last pickup video how much I really didn't like Lex Luthor because he's being overused, and I don't think he was overused in the New 52, at least in the earlier part. Um, he actually Sleeper Readers commented that he felt Lex Luthor had been a little bit too overused in the New 52. But in the first part of the New 52, he had a very small appearances, if you will. He appeared in a few issues of Grant Morrison's run, especially in the first uh, story arc, which was from number one through, I believe, action number one through action number 10, somewhere thereabouts. He had a small appearance there within that whole arc. He showed up, during Hell on Earth again, like in an issue, very small appearance. Uh, Same thing with Supergirl. I think he was, post Hell on Earth. He had an appearance in just one issue, maybe two issues. Um, and then, but not, a constant, appearances like maybe post crisis back in the 90s, where you had a ton of Luthor, whether it was him or his cloned version, his cloned younger version of Luthor. Uh, so you know, so I was very happy that we didn't have a lot of Luthor in the New 52. But since Scott Snyder started, Superman Unchained, uh, he's using Luthor a lot, and the thing is, it's just a story, but because of decompression, and I believe the first arc for Superman Unchained, or the whole story with Scott Snyder and Jim Lee is like around 9 issues. That's a lot of Luthor for me. That's just a lot because, and as I mentioned in my last video, or in that pickup video, he's just written very one-dimensional. Like same goes with the whole Forever Evil thing. He's written one-dimensional. There is a disconnect between who the Luthor of the New 52 is, as he's been shown before. I mean, for example, Jeff Johns is writing him like the Luthor he wrote, when he was doing Superman Secret Origin, you know, who actually grew up in Kansas, just like Clark Kent did, Superman did. But there is no, I guess, there is no visible connection between the two. Luthor shows up in Action Comics #1. He doesn't know Clark Kent or Superman or whatever. So there's also this disconnect where you see in the Superman books a version of Luthor, and writers who are using Luthor, go with their own version, not really pay much attention to what little backstory you have on the character. Um, so that's one of the things that bothers me. The other thing, like I said, he's a very one-dimensional guy who says, I told the army, he was better than Superman. He's like the smartest guy there. But, to me, that's just, too heavy-handed on who Luthor is, very one-dimensional. The other thing he commented, Super number 666, was because Arrow is Green Arrow is introducing Jeff Lemire is introducing a few characters from the Arrow TV show to the comics, that maybe he would enjoy it more if he paid more attention to the TV show. No, because they're the Deagle character does have a similar background to the TV version of Deagle. I know. I mean, row number 25, they introduced his mother, Green Arrow's mother, Moira, which is the only, so far, the only relationship between both characters, the Arrow TV show and the comic book version, is they share the same name, and it doesn't matter because issue 25 gives you all the backstory that you need to know about the characters, and you you know that's okay. I mean, if you don't watch TV show, Issue 25 gives you all the backstory that you need to know about the character. You know, watching the TV show, it gives you a different type of perspective. I mean, the same thing would be said about Jimmy Olsen. We appreciate more Jimmy Olsen if I've actually heard the radio show, a radio program. Of course not. They're very different characters. Maybe they borrowed similar background stories, but you know, they're all being done within the context of the book. And the other thing he asked me was if I wasn't picking up um, the current book that Lim Ear is writing for Vertigo. And I'm sad to say I'm not picking up that book. I forgot its name. But I'm not picking up that book. In fact, there are so many books out there, and that I keep hearing you guys talk about that I would love to read, but just it's just not in my budget, my comic budget. And I've made some very good books that maybe I'll pick up later. But fortunately, there's so many good books out there, and so much money that can go around that I can spend on comics that I'm right now kind of sticking with superhero stuff with DC. I mean, it's a huge stretch for me to, for example, go back buying Marvel books. So I'm just buying one, and that's depending on how the week is. If it comes out in a heavy week, then I'll probably postpone a book until maybe the following week. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'll probably pick up Trillium sometime later, because I've heard so many great things about it. And it's still in the early issues, so you know, who knows? I'll probably you know think of a good picking up that book sometime in the future if it's because I keep hearing good stuff about it. I mean, same thing goes for Saga, which might not be it's a good book. I mean, people are crazy about that book. But you know, it may not be the type of book that I actually kind of like. But I've heard tons of good about really great books, but they're just it just depends, right? I love trying new things, new unique things, but I just can't buy every book that's out there. So, but yeah, I am curious about Trillium because uh, I've heard that it's very experimental in its storytelling, and I love that sort of stuff, that sort of thing that's different, and I guess not unique, but at least different. That's not part of the mainstream stuff. And I'm seeing that DC is doing a lot of experimenting these days with their storytelling. Uh, and by the way, talking about experimenting, their whole Batman Superman, sideways thing. Uh, Marvel did that about around 2001 or 2000, somewhere around there for a few annuals, and they did a whole much better because they actually uh, printed the book exactly like that, and you didn't have to open it like that, but you open it sideways like that because the book was printed this way. What this is doing is just printing like a conventional book, but the art is sideways, so it is kind of difficult on the people to open it like that. So I love the idea that this is doing there, but they just messed up with the way they printed it, with the cover being printed like a normal book. So, uh, I guess that's it for this bit of section for the this episode of Comics and Beyond. So next up, well, I've been talking a lot about old time radio, and I'll probably talk a lot more about those old programs, because I just keep thinking about them and finding that, there are a lot of curious things about those old shows that actually connect with us as, lovers of pop culture, especially with the Superman radio program. There's a few interesting things that play out, in the most recent past, but that will be for another episode. Today, I actually want to show my classic movie collection. I have a lot of movies. I have a lot of DVDs. I have a few box sets from some of my favorite TV shows. That's for a future episode. I have a few superhero movies and animated movies, and that again will be for another episode. But today, my classic movie collection. And the great thing about these DVD collections that I've got is that they're incredibly inexpensive. I mean, they I've gotten them for a really great price, and I'm amazed at what a lot of movie studios are doing, releasing all of their classic um, libraries. Um, they might not be very luxurious box sets, but we got a few extras here and there that they add to them. Uh, and whenever I find a movie I'm interested in, I usually find them for very good price. Um, and I've usually focus on the um, movies from the 30s and the 40s, with a few exceptions for the 1950s. I think I'm actually missing a movie. Oh, here we go. So, anyways, as I was saying, a few movies, and whenever I can get my hands on these, I do, and usually 30s, 40s, some early 50s, but that because it depends on the actors that are there. So I'll start with a collection that Fox actually got out, um, uh, of their classic library, but which goes probably from their best movies, um, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. They got all the way to like the mid 60s movies from, or even late 60s. I usually focus just on the 30s and the 40s. So, uh, for example, they have the whole all the Marilyn Monroe movies. I think I don't buy any Marilyn Monroe because I think she's not that great of an actress. But anyway, so I'll start. All of the titles are in Spanish, but uh, I know they're titles in English. Um, so here, this would be number 74 in the collection, which is the movie Heaven Can't Wait with Gene Tierney and Donna Michi. I really like this movie. This one's from 19 43. Next one is Laura with Gene Tierney and Tina Andrews from 1944. Of course, you know the theme for this movie is very well known. Uh, in fact, Tina Andrews actually also had a radio program in the early 50s called "I Was a Communist for the FBI." Uh, but you know, that's a sort of for another day. You know, an Oscar winner. Laura. Next one up, uh, another Gene Tierney movie based on an awesome book, The Razor's Edge, with Tyrone Power, uh, John Payne, and Anne Baxter, among others. This one's from 1946. I mean, I bought the book before I even bought the movie, and I just loved it. The Razor's Edge. Next one up is Chicago with Tyrone Power and Alice Faye and Donna Mitch as well from 1937. Next is On the Avenue with Dick Powell, which I've talked about a bit, as well as Madeleine Carroll and Alice Faye. This is a musical with the great songs by Irving Berlin, who actually was born the same day I was on May 11th, but you know, in the 1880s, I believe it was on 11th. Then we've got Sun Valley Serenade with John Payne and the Glenn Miller Orchestra, which I bought it especially because of the Glenn Miller Orchestra. I love Glenn Miller's music. I was introduced to it by my dad actually, who bought this um, album called Glenn Miller Digital or something like that, which had one of the Ghost Glenn Miller orchestras, you know, re-recording the Glenn Miller hits. And by the way, if you ever listen to In the Mood, no, yeah, In the Mood, uh, that song, the original version has a cowbell. Any modern interpretation by the Glenn Miller Orchestra does not have the cowbell, so it's somebody's handmade. The Orchestra's Wife, another Glenn Miller movie with George Montgomery and Rutherford, who I believe also had a role in Gone with the Wind. By the way, this movie actually came out in 1941, and this one is from 42, which was the only, the last movie that Glenn Miller did before heading off to the army a few months later, if I'm not mistaken. So this one from 1942, Orchestra Wives. Now we're going to some drama. Oh, wait, sorry about that. Okay, so some drama. So first we have The Bad and the Beautiful with Lana Turner, Kirk Douglas, again Dick Powell, and also another classic, The Bad and the Beautiful. And you know, for what I paid for, it had a few great extras here. Um, you know, in fact, I believe it has. I mean, it's one. It's I think it's a double-sided disc or something like that. I can't remember. think it is. Yep, it's a double-sided disc. And in the B-side, they actually had a documentary on Lana Turner, which I so thought was, a great little extra. I mean, and I got it for a really great price. I've shown this one before, Citizen Kane. I pay about $5 for this double for this two disc set. I mean, about $5 for the whole thing. The movie and documentary on um, Citizen Kane. They had the biography of Orson Welles and oh, yeah, the and William Random Hearst. The documentary is actually called the battle the battle over Citizen Kane. Um, Great documentary. It's about, I believe it's about 2 hours of the documentary plus the movie, and it has a whole bunch of extras, stills and posters and all that. Really great. This one's one of my favorite, the Maltese Falcon, and I believe this movie actually got me interested in picking up the Dashiell Hammett books, and I actually have read the original novel version of the Maltese Falcon because originally it was a serialized story in Black Mask magazine. Uh, so it was sort of rewritten by Hammett uh, for a novelization because, and I actually had the chance. There's this great thick book of the best of pulp stories, and you actually get a recap of the previous chapter of the movie or chapters of the book of the story as they were being published in the magazine. So I thought that was very interesting, and I haven't seen that book in a while, but it's really thick uh, uh, pulp book with some of the best pulp stories. It includes, I believe, Hammett. It's got a few other guys. I remember the names. I think they had some stuff from Raymond Chandler as well. And it was a Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart and Mary Astor, which this was a third version of the book, the third adaptation of it. The first one was done in the early 30s before the Hays Code went into effect. It had a completely different ending than this one or the book. Uh, there was another one done in the late 30s, I believe. There was a bit more of a spoof, and then there was this one. So this is like the third adaptation of the Maltese Falcon ever made. Next up, Kirk Douglas Lauren Bacall Doris Day movie, Young Man with a Horn. I actually own the I would maybe you could say the soundtrack album of it. Actually has a few songs that aren't in the movie. Uh, um, I don't have like the CD. I actually have it. I bought that on iTunes, so it's a digital version of the I guess soundtrack of this movie, Young Man with a Horn, with you know with an appearance by Howie Carmichael, the guy that wrote Stardust. Uh, the trumpet played by Harry James as well. and it was directed by Michael Curtis, who did Casablanca. So you have it's a very good movie. Um, so this one came out in 1949, and I forgot, of course, this one, The Mother of Falcon Queen, came out in 1941, and you know, Citizen Kane came out in 1941 as well. Finally, The Strange Love of Martha Ivers. This one's from Paramount, but I believe it's actually in the public domain, I, because it's a different production company that did this movie. Of course, it features Barbara Stanwyck and Van Heflin, in the lead roles. Um, Supporting the cast is Elizabeth Scott and Kirk Douglas. This was Kirk Douglas' first movie, the first movie he ever made. Um, this was in 1946, and it was done by Hal Wallis. It was produced by Hal Wallis, who was a very famous producer back in the 40s. One of the first, I guess, independent producers. There were a few small independent companies at the time that weren't Warner Brothers or Paramount or even Columbia, I believe, or RKO. I think Columbia was considered a B studio in those days. Um, wasn't such being not being a huge movie, a huge studio like I mentioned, Warner and RKO or 20th Century Fox, which Fox was actually made up of two companies put together in the early 30s. So this one's the last uh, um, The Strange Life of Martha Ivers, and actually I saw this movie on TV before I bought this, and when I saw it, I had to buy it. So that's my small uh, collection of classic movies. So now that we did the Beyond, now we're going to the comic section. So, but if you so in my poll video, I actually showed a very special comic book, which was Flash 79, and I talked a little bit about it. It's a nice thick book. In fact, back in the 90s, DC actually doing some of these thick books. They actually were doing like that, square bound, 64 pages. Same thing for Action 700. Anyway, so as I mentioned before, this is the first book, one of the first books I bought. I bought this originally along with Superman number 81, which I've shown in the past. And actually, my original copy is pretty messed up, and I had to buy. So one of my first eBay buys was actually Superman number 81, because my copy, the inside pages are great, but the cover is falling apart. So it's beyond, a reading copy, because the moment I would open it, I'm afraid the cover might come loose. So that's why I actually bought another copy of it. I don't usually like having doubles of anything, but because I don't really have much space to put them in. Uh, but this book, I lost it. And for you know And back in '99, when I rediscovered Superman number 81 with a couple of Marvel books I bought in 1996, which I've also mentioned, I haven't shown those, which was Spider-Man 71 and Spectacular number 239, which is in bagged, I believe, and its cover is also coming apart. Um, I found them in a drawer, but I didn't find the Flash book. And I loved the Flash story. I mean, I remember liking it the first time that I read it, but it wasn't there. I've been looking for it for a while. I have no idea where it is. I pretty much know what's in every box that I have in my room. Uh, so I thought, well, I'm gonna look for it in the comic shop conventions whenever I have the chance to go. But I couldn't remember the issue number because, uh, you know, I read it, 20 years ago, and only a few things stay, and most things, get distorted. Memories get messed up. You know, you remember things, but you start confusing it with other things. Uh, but and I showed it before. There was one panel, one line, to say the least, that impressed me so much that to this day it's stuck in my head. And showed it and showed it. It was this panel right here, and I actually read the line uh, before, which pretty much went like, "He fooled us all." That's all I remember. He fooled us all, and so for a while I thought it was Flash number 80 because I remember, and I traced this image of the Flash running up. So I thought, hey, it's number 80 because that issue has the Flash running. Well, it was so I wasn't very sure, and might took a few minutes to think about it. And okay, so Superman number 81 came out in September of 1993. Is cover dated September 1993. So I decided to look at the issues that round around there. So I had gotten 80, a few years ago, and then it was that one. So that okay, the only other option was Flash 79. So I do a little research. I get the synopsis of the story, and that's the one. Uh, that's the one I remember because it was a lot of recapping, a lot of retelling by Wally of what had come before. So I go to mycomicshop.com, and after a few days of really thinking it, I bought it. It arrived on Wednesday. I flipped through it. I didn't even read it at first. I just quickly flipped through it, and finding that panel, said, okay, that's the issue I bought 20 years ago, and I didn't remember it was this thick. And probably the image I traced was this uh, panel with the splash page with the reverse flash. Maybe that's that one I traced a lot. I traced in one day, after I was bored. And looking at it, reading it, um, I actually remembered a few more panels. I had forgotten a lot of the detail. I had forgotten that Green Lantern was there, but I do remember a bit of this reading it. Remember this. sequence as well. I also remember the letters pages, and I knew it was at the end of the started remembering that it was at the end of the Return of Barry Allen, and probably because I actually read this bit here, this page here as well. So, like I said, I thought this story was very good. Uh, and it sort of also brought in a few things back, of saying, what, comics back in the day, you could pick up any issue and it was a starting point. You could pick up any issue and you could really learn things. Um, you don't get lost like you do these days. You don't have to go back. You get all the information that you need. You get a full story, maybe a cliffhanger to get you interested to pick up the next issue, but you get a full story. Same thing with Superman number 81. I mean, Superman number 81 was in the middle of a story arc, and I got a full story. I got the whole origin of the cyborg Superman, and I didn't feel lost. I knew I learned everything I needed to know of what had happened before. Same thing with this one, and I thought it was a great story. I really loved it, uh, and I didn't have any, back story with comics, but I enjoyed it just for what it was. Now that I have all this knowledge in comics, I loved it twice as much now because, and in the end, this story is really about not just you know the place, uh, the heroism of Barry Allen, but it also allowed Wally West to finally fully embrace that his role as a Flash, and that he didn't really have to replace Barry, but that he could be his own Flash. So in all of that, liking it just as a story when I read it at the age of 14 was very cool. With all this extra backstory that I have now, it makes it even better. So, I'm really happy to have this back because, this, along with Superman number 81, are the ones that kind of got me interested in comics. Not fully embrace them, not become a regular reader until years later, but that was the start. Finally, I want to end with just some stuff I actually just found, a few hours ago, a few minutes ago. I was keeping some stuff in a room in the house at the house, and I found an old box, and in that box there were all of my college work, homeworks, projects, reports, and I've discovered a few things that I forgotten that I had. Um, so um, so some of the stuff is comic book related, and one is not, but it's a little magazine as well. So this little magazine here, as you can tell, is Seguimos Juntos, or We're Still Together, is it's a fan magazine, a Beatles fan magazine that was published a few years ago. Actually, but when did I buy it? I bought it, yeah, about 13 years ago in the year 2000. This is um, issue number 18. This is a Beatles fan magazine. It's not a very well. It's a very cheaply produced magazine. I mean, the pictures aren't all that great. Uh, it's a little cheap little thing. 15. It cost me back in the day 15 pesos. And here in Mexico, we have a huge fan base for the Beatles. So much so that there is a radio program just for Beatle music that the station actually, or you know I've been listening to that show for program for 20 years actually. And I heard about this magazine, and we went to this place called Casa Lam here in Mexico City. It's like a museum. Uh, we went to their bookshop slash gift shop, and I saw this because I've heard about it, but it wasn't sold in a lot of places. Uh, so when I saw this, when I bought it, it's featuring George Harrison. In fact, they have like the little Beatles signatures here, printed here, and uh, and I bought it. And it has a lot of great articles about the Beatles' back history. You know, uh, I love this. Cartoon of George. Um, and forgot all about it, but it's got some really great. I can never remember. Um, it was a bi-monthly book magazine. It's got a really cool article. Uh, can't find it. By one of the hosts of the radio program that's still going on in a local station here. Oh, yeah, here, uh, this article here. Sorry about that. In fact, this is him. He is the host of the radio program here. That went from like a half hour to a full hour. For a little while, they actually had the program for on Saturdays, but that kind of went for a couple of weeks actually, and then they just went from Monday to Friday again. Two shows, one in the morning at 8, from 8 to 9 Central Time. The afternoon show is or the noon show is from 1 through 2 p.m. Central Time here in Mexico. And that was okay. Anyways, I also found this. This is a little mini poster that came uh, with this Spider-Man action figure here that I bought a long time ago. Yeah, about 12 years I think. So came with a little mini poster. The actual box. Um, yeah, that box actually is actually long gone now. Uh, then then we have a couple of coming out. Now back when I was starting to read comics regularly, I would buy anything that I saw, anything, any comic, whether it be American imports or the Mexican stuff in newsstands. So these are a couple of one of the comics that Mexican reprints I have. In fact, I have a whole bunch, and I'll probably show those uh, with the uh, with these ones again in a future show. So this is Uncanny X-Men number 338, but this is X-Men number 19 for this run, because usually when you have like an X-Men book, when they reprinted the X-Men books, for example the Spider-Man books, they usually reprinted them in one book and so you probably have like one issue would be like Spider-Man, the next one would be like Amazing. So this is X-Men number 19, which is the equivalent to the Uncanny X-Men number 338. So this one went on sale. Oh yeah. So Uncanny X-Men number 338 came out with a cover date of November 96. This title actually came out on October 19th, October 10th, 1999. So it's like 3 years behind. This other one, which is like a one thing that I bought. Give me a sec. Make sure. Give me a sec. Just look for the credits page. Anyway, so this is Witchblade number 46, but I'm not sure if it's the equivalent 46. Yeah, it looks like it's the original 46. Usually titles that they actually took at the time that were like in one series that they saw with number one, then they would have the equivalent numbering. So this is Witchblade number 46. So it's had this cover, and it's got like this cover as well. So it's pretty cool. Then I found a few Wizards specials. Give me a sec. So I also got a few Wizard specials. Actually, all my okay, so all my Wizards magazines, I actually got rid of them. Some years ago, but I only kept some of their specials. So first up, we have this cross-gen special. This is special edition cross dedicated to cross-gen, which went out of business a few years ago. Marvel sort of picked it up. Then we have this X-Men special, which came out around the time, or even before X-Men 2 came out, or X2. Um, got a whole bunch, it's got like these really cool sketches for the new X-Men stuff that Glimmer was doing with the so-called Revolution. It came with this really cool poster by Adam Hughes. Um, Pretty cool stuff here. I'm looking at some stuff on the Ultimate as well. In fact, they have like some interviews with the writers, like Claremont, Chuck Austen, Ardis Rangani. Then they did so a lot of the X-Men stuff that I learned, I actually got it from, I believe, this special. There's some stuff of the early X-Men. In fact, I believe this is actually art, like special pinups, done by several artists, like the original X-Men by Steve Rude, and so on. done by several artists. So, oh, for example, this is like the new Grant Morrison team done by Ethan Van Sciver or Sciver, um, who was one of the regular artists for Grant Morrison's run. Although it was Frank Whiteley who was supposedly the main artist. Then we have this one focusing on the Ultimate Marvel Universe when the Ultimate Universe was cool. Um, and I love the Ultimate Universe. At least the original one with the original Spider-Man, the original run of the Ultimate X-Men. I even like the Ultimates. I mean, you've heard my thoughts on the Ultimate. Not the best um, book there, but or the best group of characters there. At least I didn't really like them. Um, Finally, and to close out this episode, sorry about that. Is this like one focusing on Spider-Man, basically on the movies as well. So you got all this. I actually own this poster, this image as a poster, which is a huge poster that my my mom got for me when they went to London a few years back. So I have this one as a poster. It's incredibly huge. I don't think I'll be able to show it. Um, so it's got a whole, you know, stuff here. For example, you got the great villains from Spider-Man, Carnage and Hobgoblin, Doc Ock. Actually, what was the first? For example, the number one villain for Spider-Man was the burglar. Um, so yeah, I mean, you know, for example, that like this, the list of all the Spidey traits that had come out out that year, up to that year, which was 2001, I believe, or no, 2002 was it? Yep, 2002. Uh, so that was very cool finding. I didn't even remember I had those there. So now I have to find a place to put them in. Um, so that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this. Uh, I might actually do a Comics and Beyond Facebook page, because I don't know if how to reply to messages or if there's anything particular about it. And and sorry, and as a backup plan for commenting on the videos, because I have no way of doing that, or I don't know if commenting is the same as before. So when the page goes up, and I'll probably be doing it throughout this week, I'll let you know in my next video, and I'll probably put a link to it directly. So until next time, so I always say, keep smiling.